All right, I think anyone in here should be able to hear me. Just wait a minute for some people to get in here. Understand it's a little late, but I like to do it after the zero Z models come in. I like to get take a look at those, try to break those down a little bit, and then as the rest of the run plays out, and other models come in the zero Z suite, I like to break those down. And we can break those down on stream too, but like to see those come in. Like to see the National Hurricane Center put their advisory out, and then give you guys some information. So basically, what's happened over the past day is, I got to give credit to the GFS. I was skeptical, but is also it lied about the environment a little bit as well. If I show you the past, 3-4 runs, we go back. Notice, this is what we were looking at last night. You can see all this westerly shear and south. No, all this westerly and southwesterly shear that we were looking at, and that was looking to potentially uh, affect Fiona. And if we play through the runs, you can see that this just gradually went more and more in a way, and it's a little less significant. It's like it increased. It's like it increased a little bit on the last run, a little bit more pressing, but also not having that shear be as intense as the GFS was looking at yesterday. That played a part. It allowed it to create the moisture bubble, which I was a little skeptical of. But also, you have to consider models today were running way much more north of where the expected track was, and even we have hurricane hunters in there right now, I believe. I don't want to lose this tab, so we'll just go to here. They've been tracking this. They've been going in. It's all the way been down to 1,000 millibars since. So it's been intensifying. As you can see here, it's been bursting convection through a lot of this evening. Remember we talked about Dmax. That's a there we go. Dmax is a big it's a big part of what can help tropical storms intensify at night and tropical systems intensify at night. You can see we have a lot of lightning going on, in the east. Convection still centered more off to the east, so it's probably not perfectly aligned. It's possible, given that we're seeing this dip, we're seeing this dip southwest, west southwest with the track. It's possible it's trying to realign with this most recent convection burst that I'll show you right here. It's possibly trying to align with this convection burst right here with mid-level center and low-level center. We talked about that last night, and we'll continue to talk about it with tropical systems in the future. That's very key for those to be able to stack. Low level center and mid level center, and when they are stacked, it's easier for the storm to intensify. When they are not, low level centers here, mid level centers here, and they're tilted, it makes it harder for the storm to intensify. So that will be key. So this is more important for Puerto Rico and also the Dominican Republic, Hispaniola. It's more important for them. A little bit less important for us because I think our track is going to be more dependent on the upper air pattern. But this is still important down the road because Fiona's track now will affect how it enters, the subtropical region. So that will play a part eventually down the line. All this will play a part, but it was able to get down to 1,000 millibars. GFS did have it intensifying, about 999 millibars around this time last night, and then it also has it going up tomorrow. But you can see this big time convection popping off over here in the center, continuing. Uh, I think they just found it right here. It looks like so. This is really dipping. Like this is a pretty significant drop in latitude. So that will be something we're definitely gonna have to watch. How much does this drop in latitude? Because even if this does intensify, let's say this gets down to a 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm before it makes landfall in Hispaniola or even I guess Puerto Rico, it could. I still think it's gonna stay west of Puerto Rico. I still think it will. Um, but I guess still Puerto Rico landfall is still a little bit more on the table at this point. I guess we could say, but I'm still gonna stick to my initial gut and say it's gonna just stay southwest barely. It could come pretty close, but I'm gonna go with my initial gut and say it's still gonna stay a little bit west southwest of Puerto Rico. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. If this starts to really intensify and it's able to gain latitude, then we could see that. But this is good news, I guess, for Puerto Rico. So that this is it's dropping latitude this much, a direct landfall. Either way, Puerto Rico's still going to get tropical storm force winds. Much of the island, especially the southern part and the western part of the island, is definitely going to be at risk. But anything we can do to avoid the most significant impacts possible, that's always good news. It's currently a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm, so it's the same it was last night. Technically, it's just about 4 millibars stronger. I think it is, or 5 millibars stronger, 4 or 5. So that is what's been going on. We've been seeing this convective burst, really strong, and this is going to help um, you know, moisten the environment that is surrounding it. And with more moisture, even if there is shear, it's hard that dry air in. That's what its own this big moisture bubble here. That's it's gonna help prevent dry air from getting in quite as significantly. So that we will have to watch that for sure to see how much dry air is able to get transported and affect the system because could potentially allow if it's able to keep its moisture bubble and not allow shear to transport that dry air like I just repeated like 4 times, then we're going to be able to see this potentially go a little bit farther north and east in terms of its track, and then Puerto Rico is at risk for a direct landfall, potentially a stronger system as well, potentially even a landfalling hurricane. We will we'll keep close tabs. We're still a couple of days, I think, from any direct impacts for any significant impacts from Puerto Rico. But you can even see there is still westerly shear out here because we got thunderstorms popping all over. That means we definitely have some wind shear. It's probably connected in terms of the winds of Fiona, and the wind shear here is probably allowing some thunderstorms to pop over here. That's probably part of it. But that just lets you know that there is shear present to its west, and it is going to have to encounter that at some point. But good news is for Fiona, it's been pretty resilient. It's been pretty resilient. It's able to create its own moisture bubble, and that's good news for Fiona. Not good news for Puerto Rico, which looks like it could be seeing some significant flooding. And the Leeward Islands, even right now, have been seeing some in Guadalupe have been seeing a lot of heavy rainfall. I mean, look at these deep, cold cloud tops. Lots of lightning, lots of lightning. So we have a count 261 strikes, in this region in the past hour. Yeah, pretty close. And those minus 90 degrees Celsius cloud tops. Bang, bang. All right, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. So for probably most of you are, and I don't have probably many people from Puerto Rico in here right now, but most of you are probably more curious about our impacts and how this impacts us down the line. Now that I covered, uh, what Puerto Rico and Hispaniola are looking at in the short term of Fiona, because the short term is impactful for the long term. But I know you guys are more curious about the long term for sure. Take a look. So what's been happening? I'm gonna slide to 500. Actually, I'm gonna slide to 500 heights. So we'll go to 500 heights, and we'll go to. Will I get? Damn it. It's okay. We'll slide here. We'll immediately slide. We talked about last night. We talked about this. This storm would have an impact on everything. So we're gonna. I'm not even gonna slide back just to talk about this one first. Then we'll get to 500 heights. I had it right the first time. Bang bang. Right here. Yep. 500 volt. So let's take a look. What's happened. I haven't even looked too closely at what's been happening with this big system up north here. And let's see. I mean, it's nothing really too significant, but this doesn't. There's so much moving parts here that I mean, I'm gonna struggle to pick up on. It looks like it's been digging in. It's a little bit broader of a trough. No, is it? No, it's not. I mean, the height lines are digging a little bit more. Just curious. Remember we talked about it, one trough affects the next trough. So it's possible. Let's look even closer and let's dive in. Let's do some analysis on cue right off the top of the dome here to see me work live in action here. Yeah, I guess we can stay here. No, actually, we want to go here. We're going all over the place. Boom. That trough was followed by a ridge, and then I guess a smaller. I mean, it looks like these two. It's like these troughs combined together. Yeah, I mean, one elongated trough. Kind of like that last system. This is interesting. Um, and what's different? Don't even focus on Fiona and the track. I mean, that's not even what we're looking at right now. We're looking at this big old trough right out here. That's what we're looking at right now. Because in between troughs are ridges, and ridges are the steering currents for tropical cyclones. Play it back. What's been happening? And there we go. We can see it's been much early. It was more progressive with this trough. You can see the difference. See, no, 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 no. Why did you do that? Go back to blue. You can see, we just changed it to blue. There we go. You can see how it did with the trough base. It was like this right here. This is what I had with the trough base. But if we play this forward, look what it's doing now. I guess it's come a little bit closer, but you can see over those past runs why we've had those out to sea, because with a deeper trough, this pushes down. This pushes down on our ridge more. Pushes down. I don't want to go that straight. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah. Pushes down on our ridge more. And this doesn't allow our ridge to get over top. And allow Fiona and prevent Fiona from just running out to here. You can see we have a ridge here, and then we have our ridge here. And this is the only path for Fiona to go out, because it's not going to be able. It's not close enough to just ride into one of these high pressures. It doesn't need to. So this is what models have been advertising throughout the day. Little weakness in the ridge, weakness in the steering currents. I'm a little tired, but Never too tired to look at models, especially during the winter time. This is the track. This is what we're looking at, and this is our weakness. This is where it's going to track based on this model run. So what we're looking at now at this point is we're trying to figure out the depth of this trough and the strength of this trough is going to play a big part. So if this is able to be a more progressive trough, I think I've come pretty close to the conclusion that more progressive trough is going to slide out quicker. It's going to slide out quicker, and this is going to lead to our ridge to be able to get over top of Fiona quicker. But if Fiona becomes strong enough, it's probably gonna. We'll see if it, depending on location, if it's here or even here. If high pressure does build over, even if we see this trough become more progressive, still I think it's going to be harder. I think it's complicated. There's two different ways. Technically, this trough could let's erase everything. Technically, this trough could get into a position where it digs down, and we see stream interaction, baroclinic stream interaction, where this pinwheels, like Sandy, I say like Sandy, everybody freaks out, but just the atmospheric interaction is what I'm talking about, not the exact track. I hate trying to cause hysteria, but the atmospheric conditions that allowed that to happen is what I'm talking about. It's happened on plenty of other storms too. It's just everybody knows Sandy. Anybody you can mention Sandy, and anybody can put the pieces together. So that is one possible thing that could happen. And that's what we've been seeing a lot is once it gets up here, it interacts with this trough, and it doesn't pull in, it pulls more straight and up into here. That's a little closer than where I think it's been advertising, but you get the point. And that's probably otherwise if this ridge builds over here, let's just say it does, it's going to come well, I want to slide this back. I mean, what model run had it? Was it in that 18Z Euro run last night, which I want to show you, for example? This is a little bit more complicated still, but we're not 18Z or 18Z GFS run. What I'm trying to show you, for example, is notice the high pressure builds in. Oh my God. The high pressure builds in overhead here. Then we have Fiona track in. And what happens here is it's gonna take Fiona to get really strong in order to break through this ridge. But notice we have where the way this comes down here, steering current, so it's nowhere to go. So on this particular run, it slows, which I guess is one possible solution that we could still technically have depending on how it changes. But then once this weakness in the ridge breaks, it's going to be hard for there to be impacts in this part of the region with that kind of scenario, because what it's going to want to do is it's going to find that weakness in the ridge. It's going to break open the ridge, and it's just going to want to slide out eventually. So it's going to be hard to get a significant impacts in the northeast area in this scenario. In this particular run, this would be the southeast U.S. would be have a much higher chance of getting significant impacts if we were to see this trough become much more progressive, get out of the way earlier, allow this ridging to build in. But notice just all the the different things that just that I just mentioned that had to happen, which can happen. I mean, we're still, I mean, freaking, how far out are we? I mean, we're still a week away from, any potential U.S. impacts if it were to have any. I mean, 6, 7, 8 days. So long. It's a long time. And this was the Bear Clinic interaction I was talking about. The trough, boom, digs in right here, rises. Oh my God, rides in here, and then it kind of pinwheels around into the trough. In this case, it wouldn't be able to pinwheel in here because it's got all this blocking. So it just ride along the trough until it becomes extratropical. So there's still a lot to figure out with the upper air pattern. Um, Obviously, the models today are trying to suggest that the trough is a little bit more. That trough is a little bit digs in a little bit deeper and prevents the region to be able to get over top of Fiona as quickly. So we'll have to see if that holds. We'll have to see if that holds. That's the scenario you want if you live on the East Coast, so you can prevent a direct hit from a hurricane. Obviously, some people are a little psychotic on Twitter. I'm not gonna lie. Some people want it. Like if it's gonna happen, it's like, okay, I'm interested, and I'm really gonna make sure capture everything. But some people are just, you know, some people are just really want a devastating storm, which is it's a little confusing given that you don't really have any respect or regard for I don't know, maybe the millions of people living by you, but it's just my opinion. I think a lot of other people's opinions too, but yeah, that and I'll show you the euro. Actually, first I'll go into why the latitude. Well, no, I should say, yeah, I guess, well, the latitude of where the storm exits the islands. So if we see a track, please, there we go. If we see a track that landfalls in Puerto Rico, let's say the west side, we have a strong hurricane, and when it's coming out like this, we're probably going to get a better shot at this storm finding a weakness in the ridge quicker. Because even if it does, it has all this room to come here until it does find a weakness in the ridge and then get out of town. Even if it were to be able to find a way to tick west. But if we see this continue, we'll follow this west-southwest thing. This is pretty interesting tonight. Possibly a center relocation is going on. I'm still not sure exactly what's happening. I'll have to take a closer. We'll take a closer look right after this. But we see this, and it's able to, go through the center of Hispaniola. It gets kind of eaten up. The low level center, mid level center decouples, and then it tries to slide. Something like this. This is a little bit more of a track that would be okay. Yeah, now this is something we got to watch in terms of U.S. impacts. I think this track, it would be more something like, we'll get it closer. Nope. I think this track, it would be more something, like this. Even I'm too close. I got to get closer to where we are now, so that wouldn't be realistic. There, here we go. Does that have a weakening? Interesting. It's not. Oh, it's 500. Jesus, that's why. I was gonna say that doesn't match. Here we go. That matches much more. This kind of track where you see something go through the center of Hispaniola and then kind of dig out here, and then eventually get it, get its way northward. I would say it'd be something like this, you know. Then this is a little bit more concerning for U.S. impacts. A weaker storm that gets decoupled, gets torn apart. Remember we talk about hurricanes? They start from the surface and then they work up from there. Low level center, mid level center. This is where the outflow comes out up top. That's why it spins. Outflow comes out of both sides and this spins at the top. So if this mid-level center gets completely thrown away over here and potentially convection fades even, and you're just left with a low-level center, that means it really tore it apart. Depending on how long, the movement will be crucial. If we see a Hispaniola landfall, the movement speed will be crucial, will be very crucial, and where in Hispaniola it makes landfall. If I show you a map, oh, we gotta delete that. You can see where the mountains are. Oh no. Zoom out. Zoom out. Jesus. Here we go. You can see we have terrain. It's not significant, but there is terrain right here. We're doing it. We'll switch to yellow. That would definitely do a little bit. But if it makes landfall through here and it has to go through these mountains, that is much more significant. Or it has to go through, this is smaller. But if it has to go through here and these mountains, that will be a problem. So this is why where it makes landfall and the movement speed will be very crucial. Will be very crucial because then, depending on how much it weakens, the weaker the storm is going to get less influenced by the steering currents. Remember we talked about, that storm's going to get higher up. Imagine a rotating clouds of thunderstorms through the mid levels, and the higher that gets, the more it's going to feel the impacts of the steering currents. So if it doesn't feel the impacts of those steering currents as much, that's not where I want. Then it's going to be able to slide farther west, which is why we see tropical waves slide west, typically until they strengthen, and they'll stay strong as long as they got a ridge to the north, and until it finds a weakness in the ridge, then it finds that weakness, heads out to sea. You can see, or maybe there is no weakness in the ridge and there's a dome of high pressure. You get a big, massive Bermuda high, and it's not able to do that. And it slides west into the Caribbean or makes a U.S. impact or into the islands. That would be like Irma. This isn't Irma. A little bit different. Honestly, the track does remind me a little bit of Dorian in terms of what it's going to do. It's just we don't have the same upper air pattern. Because they thought it was going to hit Hispaniola, and the cone shifted all the way east until it hit Puerto Rico, strengthened into a hurricane, and hit Puerto Rico. And then kind of headed due northwest after that, and then it headed due west into Grand Bahama Island, obviously. where Cyclone Josh Morgan did some really good coverage there. If any of you are interested in hurricane chasing hurricane coverage, if you haven't seen, I'm sure some of you have, but um, that was a really cool video, really eye opening. It was destructive, and eye opening and sad at the same time, but it was really cool to see that, how what a Cat 5 is like. So this is the importance. You can see GFS wants to make a landfall in Puerto Rico, and then this thing slides north. There's a little bit less terrain in Puerto Rico, and it's a smaller island, obviously, than Hispaniola is. So it's going to be able to intensify quicker. So I'm pretty concerned that it's going to be able to strengthen that much off of Hispaniola if it is going to make landfall, because models always like to have that re-intensify quickly right after, and they don't usually take into account that it just sometimes it takes longer, and then we're still trying to figure that out in terms of research, etc. So there's still a lot that has to be figured out. Why does it take so long, and why is it sooner in some cases, even though the elevation or time over land may not be as different. So there's still a lot we have to figure out with that in terms of research, which can take years and years. But models tend to struggle with that. They tend to struggle with that. And also, our models picking up on this west southwest movement right now. That really has my curiosity. Really has my curiosity. Okay, it looks like it's moving more west now. You can see we had this here, here, here. So an average track would be about this west southwest. This would be an average track of where it's heading right now. Which is interesting. Possibly a center relocation. Possibly. It's possible. Um, we obviously won't know until we can get ASCAT pass, which is satellite view of the low level winds, which is usually pretty eye opening. And Recon tends to put stuff in the report too, so I'm curious if they maybe put anything. Did they drop into the center? We do got drops on. Let's see here. That wasn't the center. Here we go. Yeah, 1,000 millibars. 7 knot, round up to a 10 knot reduction. So about 1,000 millibars in the center. So it is strengthening tonight. Has been strengthening over the past, looks like the past 8 hours or so, about. Be curious to see what it does overnight. How much is it going to be impacted by that shear, etc. There's gonna be a lot of flooding, that's for sure. One thing we can guarantee with this is the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, and Hispaniola to see a lot of rainfall. And there's going to be a lot of rain with this system, unless we saw something crazy. But yeah, I know I haven't been scrolling through questions, but I'm trying to get through all the content and stuff. So if you guys got questions, you can ask them for sure. Yeah, I can't wait too, Bart. Can't wait for blizzards, man. Can't wait. Hopefully, we'll have a lot to track this winter. 100 miles. I don't know. Let's take a look on Twitter. Man, some weird stuff be showing off on Twitters. Hmm. Yeah, see, man, I hate the new Twitter algorithm. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. This new thing where it shows everybody's likes. No, I don't need to see that much. I don't need to see that much of people. I don't. I really don't need to see that much of people. Yeah, looks like a lot of people are in bed. Can't blame them. Can't blame them. I like to stay up later just naturally. We can take a look. What the CMC did. I don't know what that monitor looks like. It's pretty far west of. Because maybe it makes impact, but it's still feeling the ridge to the north, so it's being steered. It looks like by that. I mean, damn. That's still. I mean, this is being steered pretty. This is interesting. That's interesting. I know it's still out to sea, but it is interesting. That is very interesting, actually. Yeah, the timing of that trough will be key for sure. I guess we could see it. That there is a scenario where that trough, it's not it doesn't get progressive at all, and it can, or it doesn't stay around where models have it, and it just we really see that trough really dig in and strengthen, and we see a scenario where it's able to get connected to that trough and pinwheel in. That could be a scenario, I guess. It's one possible scenario we have to keep an eye on. But CMC runs this rather west, and I don't even know if it's considering the current west southwest, uh, movement that we've been seeing with the storm recently. I mean, where does it have it right now? Looks like, I mean, a little bit north, maybe. Where's it at right now? Let's figure this out. It's about right. But look, here's the difference. It's not though. Look what it had it doing. This is not the track that's been happening. CMC had it going here. But shit. CMC had it going here. That was the track. That's not what happened. What really happened was this. So in reality, it's probably a good 30. This is probably at least, I can't do depth, I can't say, but it's got to be at least 30, 40 miles in difference. Maybe at least 20, 30 miles difference in track right now in just a 6 hour period. This is running west. It's running south for sure of where models have this. Let's take a look at GFS. GFS had it, I mean, say even farther. Jesus. Oh, I mean, it had it pretty far north coming in general. I think CMC had it a little bit farther south as it was coming into the islands. But it looks like GFS picked up on this a little bit. You can see like there's different points. The GFS not bad. You can see we have different being vorticities being stretched out a little bit. That could be something that GFS was picking up on, possible center relocation, or just different areas of vorticity. Different the low level spin battling the mid level spin. Which, and they're not quite stacked, not close enough. They're kind of fighting. Which one's stronger. Um, Usually, when that happens, they tend and they're close enough. They want, and there's not a ton of shear or enough shear in the current present environment. They're going to want to come together and stack. but maybe it's not ready. Maybe it's not ready to stack quite yet. But it's just an awful. All right, this is what I'll be curious to see. It has from two to it's the 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. time frame tomorrow, where the GFS has this just really getting tugged in north, consolidates the vorticity significantly, and wants to pull this almost, you know, directly east southeast of Puerto Rico. That's what I'll be curious to see how the GFS does with that, because so far it did not bad. It might be still a little bit off in terms of the latitude. I can't do is I couldn't tell you the exact number of how far north or south it is of where current recon has it, but not, not bad for the GFS, gotta say. It did good last night. It did good last night. It was still off in terms of where the center was. Don't get me wrong. Still had some flaws, but picked up on that convection forming tonight and intensifying. Picked up on it. Had it coming down to a 999 tonight, and then going back up to a 1004 tomorrow is what it was showing. Let's take a look again. Hmm. I'll be curious. It's trying to fire up. We see this happen. I was talking about it earlier with these thunderstorms firing up just to the west. Fiona's winds with a combination of a little bit of shear over here. That's probably what we're leading to some convective development on this side. So I'm curious how much shear is going to be able to impact Fiona tomorrow. That will draw my interest. I mean, it looks like we got the biggest area of convection blown up right now is right here. That's my eyes. If I had to take a guess where the mid-level center is, I would go there. Where is it? Where's Recon at the low level center right now? It looks like it stopped intensifying though. According to Recon 10, went from 1,000 to 101. Even stopped not only stopped intensifying, weakened. Guess it's not that significant because it was 3 knot reduction. Maybe not weakened all that much, but it did stop strengthening. That's for sure, according to Recon. But it's still definitely firing up convection as well. That's that's not been a problem for this storm. It's done pretty well in terms of maintaining convection, not only throughout the day, during diurnal minimum, which is D min, and diurnal maximum, which is now nighttime. Um, it has not had a problem firing up convection. It's fought off shear, so this could be one of them ones. It could be one of them ones that just it's got really good tropical DNA in it, and it's just able to overcome a lot of things. It could be one of those ones. Could be a fighter. See, outflow's not awful. We can see we got shear to the north. We can see this. Um, cloud tops, fading, right over here. Can see some shear there. But pretty decent outflow at the moment. That's why I was able to intensify, a good 10, 10 miles an hour. Again, if any of y'all have questions, feel free to ask them. see. Hmm. Euro not out yet. Euro's not quite out yet. So we'll have to wait on that 20 minutes. I won't stream the Euro. Wintertime will be. Nah, actually, Billy's probably gonna be streaming a lot of those. So I will probably want to watch his streams. We'll probably wintertime we'll probably do streams, like that right after the 0Z because we're gonna lose an hour, gain an hour. Either way, we're gonna an hour earlier. The models come out during the winter time. Um, and once that happens, look at the GFS running at 10:30. CMC running at 11. RGM will be running or a little after that too, 11:15. Or no, it's not that late. I think RGM runs around 10:15 during the winter time, and then we'll get the NAM that starts running at around 8:45. So during the winter time, we'll be able to, we'll probably, do that 11, 11 to 12-ish range. That's probably what we'll go for in the winter time. Still waiting on my mic too. Still waiting on my mic. Yeah, I saw his tweet. I saw his tweet. Um, I'm not sure how much it will impact us in the end, because again, I think we're still the upper air pattern is what's going to matter most here. That's what's ultimately going to matter most. So how again the main keys, in case you missed it or still confused potentially. We have. Can we go? Please go to North America. It never fills in until like 12 hours after the run, which at that point is not useful anymore. But we have our big old, this is like one, shit faded on me. It was one, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's really complex phase interaction right here. It's a really complex that's going on here, and the depth of this trough will affect. This is a really broad trough that's coming in. You see here that will be pushing in after. We have the ridge. Midwest is going to be hot. Midwest, I looked after. Um, you put the pieces together that we have the steering currents for Fiona, Midwest, and Plains. They're going to be hot next week. I mean, they're scorching this region of the country. They're going to be scorching. Probably upper 80s, 90s, even maybe hundreds. Could see some triple digits. They're going to be scorching next week. But this is what we're looking at. These two troughs. I looked at the name. I think it's like Mancook or something was the old typhoon. That energy, that storm, 937 millibar storm in Alaska. That was really impressive. Saw that as well this morning. Big time. Big time typhoon that was. Now extratropical storm. Obviously now that impacted Alaska today. Really, really big time storm. And we're looking for the depth in those troughs, the timing. It's everything. It's everything. Yeah, this is the main trough. Obviously it's hard. It's going to be hard, the current one, but this is the main one. This is the depth. How deep does this go? This is a really deep trough. Good for snowstorms. This It's a much broader trough. It's a much broader trough. If I want to get the same to scale, it would be more like that. That's a much broader trough. Broader troughs are not as strong. It's not as strong as a trough, and it's typically it's a more progressive system, something that's not going to amp up as much, which we don't like in the wintertime. We like deep troughs. We can get snowstorms in progressive troughs. It's possible, but usually the ceiling gets much more limited. You need a really good setup to get big snow in a progressive trough. At least in our region. Not mid Atlantic though. You can definitely get some good sliders. Mid Atlantic folks, that you want the progressive troughs, depending on the location, obviously. Yeah, but this is the big picture. Trying to figure out again if you have questions. I know a lot of you are trying to chime in during the middle and the beginning, but I like to set the groundwork, in the beginning, and then we can, go through questions at the end. And obviously, hopefully, I can provide a somewhat usable answer. I don't want here. That's not even what I wanted. Yeah, Fiona could become a strong one for sure. It can't. This definitely a major hurricane's on the table for this one. Once if it's able to survive Hispaniola, it would take some. I think it would take something pretty crazy for it not to survive Hispaniola. Um, if it were to make landfall there. Uh, so assuming it does that, this definitely can be a major hurricane. But the key to this system, we'll go back to yellow. This trough and the ridging here. If this is able to slide up, you can see it's digging in more here rather than digging in more in this part. It's kind of an elongated two-part trough here. So if this ridging is able to slide up and out more here, it's going to force the storm to go farther north and west for longer. And also look here, we have our high pressure, weak high pressure. Oh my God. We have our weak high pressure here. It, depending on how much this is able to either strengthen or weaken, that will also set the stage. That this high pressure here, this can prevent this weakness in the ridge to be less significant. And then here it can force Fiona to go more this way until there's a strong enough weakness. Good enough isn't really good English, but a good enough weakness in the ridge for it to head out of town. Obviously models today show a pretty convincing look for this thing. To find somewhere to head out before it makes a U.S. impact. But at the same time, these are the same models that just yesterday showed a completely different story. And given the fact we're still, 6 to 8, 9 days out from any potential U.S. impacts, still 6, 8, 7, 8, 9 days out. Yeah, I wouldn't trust it. Typically when we get closer, usually the idea is that models paint a better picture. They're getting more information closer. That's true. But, we're talking about getting closer from like 10, 11 days out to like 7 to 9 days out. Still ridiculously far away in terms of U.S. impacts. And there's so many short-term impacts with Fiona that can happen that can change that. And that doesn't even go into consider all the upper air stuff that I was talking about. But yeah, if you guys don't got any more questions, I think if you guys don't have any more questions, I think we'll wrap it up soon. But if you do, just put in the chat. There are stupid questions, but I'll still answer them. I promise. That it? No more questions? I'll still be on Twitter, so if you guys, you want to reach out to me there as well, you know, feel feel free, of course. But I think not bad, pretty good stream right there. We'll do more as long as it stays a potential threat. We'll definitely continue to keep monitoring it, and we'll do. I don't mind streaming. Really, I got nothing better else to do at this time of night. I'm just gonna be looking at some of the weather stuff anyway. So hang out, we can chat about stuff. Winter, whatever. I'll probably be doing also. Here's something I'm gonna be doing streams. On past snowstorms. We'll be doing those. We'll try to be doing streams on past snowstorms at some point. Hopefully, I can do those a little bit earlier. We'll try to go aim for like 12, and we'll go for weekends. So people that have to go to school can they can watch if they want to, because it's not really concerned to me. I'm going to be up late weekdays or weekends. I'm not. I am not at the moment. Not at the moment. Not in high school either, though. I try not to get too personal. Try not to reveal too much stuff. But I am at a high school. No more questions. Oh yeah, it was. So we'll be doing winter streams, so I'll try to do those earlier. Try to do those, 12 a.m. ish, a little bit earlier than we started. I think we started this one around like 12:55. So try to aim for a little bit earlier next time. But we started earlier this time. I mean the first stream last night started earlier, but forgot to add the audio to that. But I think we're like 10 minutes earlier or 15 minutes earlier than last night. Just good start. So, because I know there's not a lot of people that stay up until 2 a.m. But I don't mind doing that. All right, I'll be